From the moment we open our eyes, the world starts whispering instructions. Not directly, not always with words, but through looks, through expectations, through rules we never agreed to follow. You're told to sit still, to raise your hand, to walk in straight lines, to color inside the lines. And somewhere along the way, that quiet voice inside you, the one that imagined more, dreamed freely, spoke without fear, it starts to go quiet. Not because it was wrong, but because it was different. You see, the world is built to reward the familiar. It's designed to praise what it understands. So it pushes you into a mold. It tells you to chase safety, to follow the crowd, to pick the normal life. A job with benefits, a house in the suburbs, a life that looks good on paper, even if it feels empty in your soul. And if you try to break away, if you dare to say that's not for me, you get labeled weird, difficult, unrealistic. Too much. So most people give in. Not because they want to, but because it's easier to be accepted than to be authentic. Because standing out feels like standing alone. But here's something the world won't tell you. Every great story you've ever heard began with someone who refused to follow the script. Every invention, every movement, every revolution started with one person who looked at the way things were and said, "No, this isn't enough." Think about it. The people we admire most, they weren't popular at first. They weren't always understood. They faced resistance, criticism, rejection, but they kept going. Why? Because they were driven by something deeper than approval. They were chasing purpose, not applause. And that's where your power is too. Not in being like everyone else, but in being exactly who you are without apology. Different isn't a weakness. It's your superpower. You weren't born to blend in. You weren't designed to follow. You were made to create, to question, to rise. So if you've ever felt like you didn't belong, if you've ever looked around and thought, "Why don't I fit in?" Good. That feeling, that's your signal. That's your soul reminding you. You were never meant to be average. You were meant to lead, to build, to break patterns, to challenge expectations, to leave the world better than you found it. But to do that, you have to make a choice. You have to stop shrinking, stop apologizing, stop pretending to be someone you're not, because the world doesn't need more copies. It needs the original version of you. The bold you, the fearless you, the real you. So no, you don't need. You need to stand up. You need to stand out. You need to dare to be different. There's a price we pay for fitting in. It's not written on paper. It doesn't show up on your bank statement, but it's real. It's the dream you never chased, the words you never spoke, the ideas you buried because they were too much. Conformity looks safe, but it's a silent thief. It steals your voice and sells you comfort. It trades your potential for acceptance. And worst of all, it convinces you that this is what life is supposed to be. Go to school, get the degree, take the job. Don't ask questions, play it safe. Retire one day and call it a life. But deep down, you know something's missing. That spark. That fire, that feeling of truly being alive. Because when you conform, you don't just hide from the world, you hide from yourself. You see, every time you say yes when you mean no, every time you laugh at what you don't find funny, every time you silence your opinion to avoid being judged, you chip away at your own identity, and slowly you forget who you were before the world told you who to be. You weren't born to be a copy of anyone else, but conformity turns people into ghosts. They walk through life with their heads down, hearts numb, dreams on hold. And one day they wake up and ask, "How did I get here? whose life am I even living? That's the true cost, not failure, not rejection, but regret. Because fitting in might bring you peace today, but it steals your purpose tomorrow. So ask yourself, what are you sacrificing just to be accepted? And is it worth it? No one else on this planet has your exact mind, your voice, your pain, your story, your soul. Think about that. Out of more than 8 billion people, there is only one you. And that is not an accident. That is power. But the world doesn't teach you to see your uniqueness as power. It teaches you to compare, to compete, to conform. You're told you need to look a certain way, think a certain way, live a certain way, or you'll be left out. So instead of asking, what makes me different? You start asking, what do I need to change to fit in? But here's the truth, most people never realize what makes you different is exactly what makes you valuable. It's your unusual way of thinking. It's your unexpected perspective. It's the way you see things others overlook. That's what the world needs more of. Not another imitation, but a real, unfiltered original. Every gift you've been given, your curiosity, your energy, your empathy, your boldness, those are not flaws, they're features. They are tools waiting to be used for something greater than you. And when you embrace that, when you stop running from who you are and start walking into it, you unlock a level of strength that no one can take from you. Because real power doesn't come from pretending to be someone else. It comes from being fully you, even when it's uncomfortable, especially when it's uncomfortable. You don't have to be louder. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be real. Because someone out there is waiting to see a person like you rise. Someone who's hiding will find courage because you showed up as yourself. So stop asking, what do they want me to be? And start asking, what was I born to bring into this world? You already have the answer. You just need the courage to live it. Judgment is the invisible prison that traps billions of people. Not made of walls or bars, but of opinions, of stares, of whispers, of what will they think? We fear being misunderstood. We fear being laughed at. We fear standing out because standing out makes you a target. So what do? We shrink, we silence ourselves. We trade our authenticity for approval. Not because we're weak, but because we've been taught that being accepted is safer than being free. But here's what no one tells you. People will judge you no matter what you do. Be too quiet, they'll say you're shy. Speak too much, they'll say you're arrogant. Follow the crowd, you're basic. Walk your own path, you're rebellious. No matter what you do, someone will always have something to say. So why waste your life trying to please people who don't even know who you truly are? You weren't put here to impress everyone. You're here to express yourself. Fully, boldly, unapologetically. And yes, that comes with risk. Yes, people may talk, they may roll their eyes, laugh behind your back, question your choices. But guess what? That's their limitation, not yours. You don't owe the world perfection. You don't owe it silence. You owe it truth. Your truth, the truth that makes people uncomfortable. The truth that challenges the norm. The truth that refuses to wear a mask. And the moment you stop fearing their judgment is the moment you begin to live free. You stop walking like a prisoner. You stop editing yourself for every room. You stop shrinking to make others feel tall. You walk in as you, no filter, no mask, no apology. Because if they're going to judge you anyway, you might as well be judged for being real. Look at the world around you. Every breakthrough, every about Steve Jobs. He dropped out of college. He wore the same black turtleneck. He talked about design and emotion in an industry obsessed with specs. They said he was strange. They said he was difficult, but he didn't care because he saw a future no one else could. Now the world holds his vision in the palm of its hand. Or look at Malala Yousafzai, a young girl who used her voice when others told her to be quiet. She stood up to fear. She stood up to violence. She stood up for girls who were told education wasn't their right. And even after being shot, she came back stronger because her purpose was bigger than her fear. Elon Musk was mocked for electric cars, for reusable rockets, for thinking beyond Earth. People laughed until he changed the industry because bold ideas always sound ridiculous at first. Until they don't. Or Frida Kahlo, she painted her pain. She wore her truth. She refused to be what society expected of a woman. And though they criticized her then, they celebrate her now. The lesson, every bold person was doubted. Every original was questioned. Every visionary was labeled too much before they were called a genius. And still, they moved forward. Because the bold aren't driven by acceptance. They're driven by vision, by conviction, by something inside that refuses to be silenced. And that same power, it lives in you. You don't have to be famous. You just have to be brave. Because when you choose to be different, you don't just change your life, you give others permission to change theirs. There's a voice inside you. It's been there since the beginning. Soft, honest, real. It tells you what you love, what excites you, what scares you. It speaks in feelings, not facts, in instincts, not instructions. But the world, it's loud, it's constant. It drowns that voice out with opinions, expectations, and pressure. Do this, be that, don't say that, don't dream too big, stay realistic. So you start doubting yourself. You second guess your choices. You hesitate. You overthink until eventually you can't tell the difference between your thoughts and their voices. But here's the truth. The world's noise is designed to distract you, to keep you focused on fitting in, following trends, chasing approval. Because if you stay distracted, you stay small. But your inner voice, it wants more. It wants truth. It wants freedom. It's the part of you that says, I don't want to do this anymore. I was made for something more. I know this isn't who I really am. That voice is not your enemy. It's your guide. And the more you listen to it, the stronger it gets. The more you trust it, the clearer your path becomes. Because deep down, you already know who you are. You already know what you're meant to do. You've just been told to ignore it. But if you silence the world long enough, you'll hear it again. That quiet certainty, that deep knowing, that fire. And once you hear it, really hear it, you'll realize something powerful. The world might be loud, but your soul is louder. So stop living by their noise. Start living by your truth. Because your inner voice, that's where your power begins. Courage isn't something you're born with. It's something you build, not once, not twice, but every single day. It's not a lightning bolt. It's not a dramatic moment in front of a crowd. Most of the time, courage looks ordinary. It's speaking up when it's easier to stay quiet. It's saying no when everyone expects a yes. It's trying again after you failed yesterday. It's showing up as yourself, even when you feel exposed. We look at fearless people and think they're just different, they're braver than me. But the truth is, they're not braver. They've just built a different habit. They've chosen courage when it was uncomfortable, again and again, until it became who they are. And you can do the same. You build courage by taking small steps And every time you do that, you grow. Your voice gets stronger, your fear gets smaller, your life gets fuller, because confidence doesn't come before action. It comes from action. And yes, you'll still feel fear. Yes, your voice might shake, but you'll realize something powerful. You don't need to be fearless to be brave. You just need to move anyway. One step, one choice, one day at a time. So if you want to live a bold life, you don't have to wait for the perfect moment. You just have to start building it right now, right where you are, with what you have. Because courage isn't found, it's built. Authenticity is power, not the loud, flashy kind, but the quiet, steady kind that changes everything around it. When you choose to be yourself, fully and unapologetically, you do more than break your own chains. You give others the courage to break theirs, because authenticity is contagious. One honest voice makes others brave enough to speak. One person walking their truth gives others permission to stop pretending. Your courage becomes their spark. Think about it. When someone stands in front of the world and says, "This is who I am," they open a door, and others, maybe people who've been hiding for years, finally feel safe enough to walk through it. You don't need a million followers to make an impact. You just need to be real, consistently, boldly. When you stop hiding, others notice. They feel your freedom. They see your energy, and they start to wonder, what if I could live like that too? That's the ripple effect. It starts small, but it doesn't stay small. You show up differently, you speak differently, you love differently, and the people around you start to change, not because you told them to, but because they felt something in you that awakened something in them. And slowly you're not just living a life, you're shaping a world that values real over perfect, truth over popularity, purpose over image. This is how movements begin, not with noise, but with honesty. So don't underestimate the power of being yourself. Don't wait for approval. Don't water yourself down. Because when you choose authenticity, you don't just find your own freedom, you help others find theirs. What do you want to leave behind? Not the money, not the titles, not the things people will eventually forget. I'm talking about legacy. The mark you leave on hearts, the shift you create in minds, the courage you awaken in others. Because in the end, people won't remember your job title. They'll remember how you made them feel. They'll remember the risks you took, the truth you spoke, the way you showed up when it mattered. And more often than not, it won't be because you fit in. It will be because you stood out. Because you chose to be different when it would have been easier to blend in. You chose to speak up when silence was safer. You chose purpose over popularity. That's what the brave do. They live in such a way that even after they're gone, their spirit stays. Their words echo. Their actions inspire. Their story continues through others. But here's the thing. You don't build a legacy by accident. You build it by choice, by living intentionally, by standing in your truth, even when your voice shakes, by choosing to be real, even when it's not easy. Legacy is not reserved for the famous. It belongs to the courageous. The parent who breaks the cycle. The teacher who believes in the forgotten. The artist who shares their soul. The leader who listens. The young person who rises up and says, "I will not be silent." That's what lasts. So ask yourself, will your life echo? Or will it fade? Because one day, long after your name is spoken, the impact you made will still be felt in the lives you touched, in the people you inspired, in the courage you gave others to be themselves. That is the legacy of the brave. And it begins now, with a single choice to live boldly. Now you know the truth. You were never meant to blend in. You were never meant to shrink. The world has enough copies, enough noise, enough people pretending. What it needs is you, the real you, the bold you, the different you. So this is your moment to stop hiding, to stop dimming, to stop pretending and start doing what you were born to do. Dare to be different.